Hiya. In this video we're going to show you how to add a supplier record to your Xero account. So here we are on the dashboard. All we have to do is click on the little plus icon at the top of the menu bar and then click on Contact. Xero doesn't necessarily differentiate between suppliers and customers for this purpose anyway. So what we can do is just basically work through all the fields that it is now asking for information for and fill in the ones that are relevant to us. So perhaps skipping the ones that look as though there's something to do with the customer. You can fill them in. Some businesses do have a particular company that is a customer and a supplier at the same time, and so that's in this field, in this screen, it's useful having being able to fill in customer and supplier details all under one record rather than creating them as a customer and creating them as a supplier. So as this is a supplier record, all we're going to do is go a new supplier limited. I use the tab key on my keyboard because what that does is it'll just jump me to the next thing that I need to consider on the screen, and I know I don't need to do anything there, so I'll just move on. We will fill in some other details. And I highly recommend filling in as much detail as possible, because you will find that a month, 2 months, a year down the line, when you need to find some information for this particular supplier, at this point, if you've filled it all in, then you just use Xero as your address book, and you just basically go into the record and find their phone number and give them a call about whatever it is that you need to contact them about. So if we scroll down, direct dial is not important for this example. Skype or a website isn't either. So if we just put some contact details in, and then move further down, you'll see there's a little hyperlink button here, and what that's doing is it's saying, right, you filled in the address here, do you want me to use the same details for the delivery address? And we can just click on this button. If your supplier has a different delivery address, for when you're returning products or whatever, you might want to just fill that in there, but for this purpose we'll say it's the exact same, so we'll just click on that button. Then we move down to some of the more important sections of this field. So it's asking for financial information. So the one that we're most interested in is the purchase settings, and what we're saying is that it's tax inclusive. So that's just when we raise the sales invoice. And then what we do is we want to say, right, every time we record a purchase invoice for this supplier, we want it to automatically choose this particular code, whatever it is that we choose from this list. So if it's goods and products that we buy, perhaps you'd use 310. If this supplier was a telephone provider, you'd probably choose a telephone code. It's not permanent. All it does is it just means that you're going to get consistency when you're raising information or raising purchase invoices. So if you receive something in, start entering it under this new supplier. It'll say, oh, you normally post something to 310. And you can choose to change that at that point of entry, but it's just going to try and keep things consistent in your records for you. The VAT section is quite important if this supplier is an EU supplier, so it helps with reverse charges and making sure that we're not overpaying VAT. So go ahead and fill that in, especially if they are a EU country. If not, it's not as important. Registration number, sales discount, if we get any discount from if this was a customer, for example, but this is the supplier, as I've mentioned. Xero does customers and suppliers in the same screen, so we just move past these. Default currency is quite useful, so again, if you've got an EU supplier, perhaps it's in euros or whatever currency they're selling in, so you might want to change that at that point, but pound sterling's fine for this. And then because this is a supplier, what we want to do is enter the payment terms that we get from these guys. So let's say, for example, the supplier gives us 30 days credit. So we put a 30 in the invoice due date and the 30 in the invoice paid date. Bills, the top one is for the purchases, the bottom one is if you raised a sales invoice. I recommend that we just put the same number in there, just in case you get confused. It's not going to affect too many things. And what that means is if we have a purchase invoice from this supplier on the 1st of the month, it will then go and add 30 days onto the 1st and say that's when you actually need to have this invoice paid by, and Xero will start giving you the information about when you need to pay this bill's becoming due, etc. Just to keep in the good books, you might want to think about getting paid. So really, that's all there is to adding a supplier to Xero. Again, just go through the boxes, fill in as much information as possible, and you'll find further on down the line you'll reap the benefits from spending that extra couple of minutes in this screen. So I hope that's helped, guys. All we have to do is click save, and that's it. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.